Hello and welcome to July 31st, where we're reading Nehemiah chapter 13 and starting Ezra, going through the first two chapters of Esther, not Ezra. We've already done Ezra, Esther 1 and 2. Now, these chapters, yesterday didn't have all that much to it. These chapters have way too much to it, but we're going to try and summarize those in a couple minutes as well as we can. Nehemiah ends off in a very interesting and somewhat controversial way. Esther starts off in a very interesting and somewhat controversial way. Who knows if we have time to cover all of that today, but we're going to, or at least we're going to try. In Nehemiah 13, basically, Nehemiah had a contract to go back to Israel for a little bit to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem and then return to Persia. He ends up going back to Jerusalem to see how they're faring a little bit later on, and they're not faring well. Every single one of the details of the vow that they promised in chapter 10, they have absolutely broken. No intermarriage with the people of the land. They intermarried all the time. Don't buy and sell stuff on the Sabbath. Their main trading days were on the Sabbath. Everything they promised, they completely went back on. Even Nehemiah couldn't fix this people, right? And so as great as Nehemiah is, he can't fix them. He can't really help them. So he does a few things. He makes them recommit to that promise. He kicks out a bunch of priests that were corrupt and that had married into other families because that wasn't appropriate for there to be Gentile wives for faithful priests. That wouldn't happen. And so he kicks out all of these people, and at the end of his book, all he can say is, "Remember me, oh my God, for good." I tried. I don't really know what else to do. That's Nehemiah. He is a great man who was saddled with an irreverent and evil people. As you open the book of Esther, then, Esther takes place in Persia in the period of time between Ezra 4 and Ezra 5, basically. It happens right before then, before Israel's come back to rebuild the temple in the first place. And essentially, there's this Persian king who gets into a spat with his wife for a reason and divorces his wife. He needs a new one, so that's all of Esther chapter 1. In Esther chapter 2, he goes to search for a new wife. He basically grabs all the eligible, pretty young girls, takes them, and tries them out. That's a terrible way to say that, but it's true. Esther is chosen. She's a Jew. She has an uncle named Mordecai. He's going to be pretty important in a little while. And Esther gets appointed to be the queen. Now she's pretty important. God's going to use that for something good, even though it's very questionable as to why she's there in the first place. So we'll talk more about Esther and some of those difficulties tomorrow, August 1st, where we're going to be reading Esther 3 through 7. We'll get a lot of chance to talk about this.